Right, hello. In this brief video we're going to talk about the Bishop of Clermont-Ferrand, Eparchius. Right, we are talking about the late 5th century AD. We're talking about Gaul, modern-day France, the great part of France, and Western Europe, of course, had fallen to Germanic tribes. Starting with Alaric, later on with Clovis. Right, and we're talking about the reign of Euric, the king of the Goths. Right, now in the city of Clermont-Ferrand, in the late 5th century AD, the bishop Nematius had died, and he was succeeded by Eparchius, who, according to Gregory of Tours, most of what I'm talking about is based on the chronicle of Gregory of Tours, 6th century AD chronicler, and a priest also. So about Eparchius, we learn that he was a most saintly and a most devout man. Now the bishop had his lodgings in what is now called the sacristy. So he actually lived in the church all day long. He was there, and he was praying, and he was helping his fellow citizens of Clermont-Ferrand, be it Germans, be it Romans, be it in Gauls. Right. And he was in the habit of getting up in the middle of the night to give thanks to God before the high altar in his cathedral. So one night it happened that as he went into the church, he found it full of devils, and Satan himself, sitting on his own episcopal throne, made up to look like a painted woman. So we had a sort of transvestite devil there. Now the bishop, Eparchius, said, "You hideous prostitute," he said, "is it not enough that you infect other places with every imaginable sort of foulness, that you're defiling the throne consecrated to the Lord by sitting your revolting body down on it? Leave the house of God this instant and stop polluting it with your presence." Now Satan replied, "Since you give me the title of prostitute," he said, "I will see to it that you yourself are constantly harassed with sexual desire." Now as the devil said this, he disappeared into thin air. And it is true that the bishop was tempted by the lusts of the flesh, but he was protected by the sign of the cross, and the devil was unable to harm him. So that's roughly what Gregory of Tours said in the 6th century AD. So according to the bishop, he had to stay, he had to be a virgin man, he had to stay away from women. I mean, well, and the question arises, was it really that bad to have sexual desires, to have a wife? Perhaps it was wrong to be lecherous or right, but not to give up sexual desire altogether. I mean, what sort of religion is that? So, and the Satan was, of course, in the form of a woman. So perhaps this is Paul's version of Christianity, the anti-female, right. And according to all accounts, it was Eparchius who also built the monastery on top of Mount Saint-Dion, where the oratory now stands. And there he would go to the retreat during his holy days of Lent. On the day of the Lord's Supper, he would process down on his cathedral, escorted by his clergy and the townsfolk, and accompanied by a great singing of psalms. And later on, a couple of years later, when Eparchius died, he was succeeded by the famous Sidonius Apollinarius, who wrote all these poems and all these amazing epistles, and he was a great reformer. And so another great Gallo-Roman aristocrat was his famous successor, Sidonius Apollinarius, and the Loeb Library published the two versions of his book, Sidonius. So in another video we're going to talk about this church father, Sidonius Apollinarius, St. Augustine, Clement, and all the others. So we'll take them one by one. So the question arises, was it that bad to have sexual desires? Was it the devil? Was it temptation? So it's really a theological theme that takes lots of aspects. I mean, it's quite hard to